Hello everyone, Smash McKenzie here, and I'm here to tell you a bit more about Carers Rights Day 2025. Now, I volunteer with Carers UK and promote their focus on unpaid carers, as Carers UK is a national charity that gives a voice to carers. I also volunteer with quite a few other organizations, Carers Trust as well. Now, for Carers Rights Day 2025, which is on the 20th of November, it's a focus on allowing unpaid carers to not only just know about their rights, but actually use them. And that is actually the theme for this year. Know your rights, use your rights. But for those out there, you might be thinking, what on earth is a carer? Well, there are many themes and definitions for a carer, but on this particular Carers Rights Day, it tends to focus, I would say, on unpaid carers. As we might already know, there are millions of unpaid carers that actually support or care for family members or close friends. And the situation is when you're caring, those that are being cared for will find it very difficult to manage without that support, without that act of love. But the issue is that unpaid caring, by its title, you're unpaid, and you're just coping. It can also be exhausting, can be certainly isolating and overwhelming. So going with the theme for Carers Rights Day, it's important that you are aware of your rights. If you look closely at what I've provided here, where you are knowing your rights, if you are a carer, the first thing I would say is your right to a case assessment. If you are caring for someone with long-term ill health, it could be mobility issues, could be long-term mental health issues, could be physical health needs. It's important that you're identified as a carer and be given a right to a carer's assessment, or at least be involved in the support plan. You also have a right to have your views considered. I am aware of confidentiality practices that the cared for may request or may use. That's fine. But your right as a carer should extend to being heard and being considered, especially when it comes to the services that are being arranged for the person you are caring for. You have the right to actually ask your GP practice to be identified. In fact, that's one of the most important ones, because if you're not identified as a carer, then it's hard to follow on for the other carer's rights. So once you're identified, you can get access to additional support, hence more checkups, um, double appointments, or even protections regarding vaccinations. If you're actually working as a carer, you might have to obviously be part-time, and this is where I fell into my caring, where I had to work part-time. There's a situation you can actually request the right to flexible working. This could be including the changing of hours or where you would work or balancing paid work with that unpaid caring role. You also have the right to unpaid carers leave. Under the law, it's fairly new, you have a right to take some time off and also have the right to protection under discriminations and equalities legislation because your care role should not lead to unfair treatment, and there are discrimination practices. You also have the right to be informed and consulted when your loved one is discharged from hospital, because having you involved makes sense and that input matters. But it's not just about knowing your rights, knowing your carer's rights. You actually have to be aware of how to use those rights, which I admit they're not quite easy to do. Over this video, I'll try and make it clear. When it comes to those carer's assessments, it's important you identify at your local authority who is responsible for providing you with carer's assessments and request it to identify your support needs. Also, when it comes to having your views considered, obviously make sure you share your thoughts with those services that are being planned for your loved one, for the person that you care for. So in order to shape those decisions, it's important to get an idea who's in that care team so you know who to contact. And when you are providing your views, please note them down beforehand or even during your caring journey. When it comes to registering as a carer of your GP, it's important to tell your GP that you are a carer so they can identify you as a carer and refer you on to care support. It could be a care center, it could be with a social prescriber, it could be support from mental health nursing if you're a mental health carer. For flexible working, it's important to document what you request. So submit a written request to your employer to adjust your hours and work patterns. For carers leave, again, it's down to notifying your employer that you need to take time off regarding the Carers Leave Act. This is statutory unpaid carers leave, and it's essential for caring tasks. With protection from discrimination, if you do feel you face unfair treatment, raise it and document it. The law actually protects you. And for hospital discharge, again, knowing who's in that care team, who's in that support team, do tell them that you're a carer. In fact, there should be practices in hospital support to identify carers through a carer's card or through the hospital's policies regarding unpaid carers. You should be included in discharge planning, especially if you're going to be providing the majority of caring. So on Carers Rights Day 2025, as mentioned, it is important to know your rights, but it's even more important to use your rights at the specific time when it's requested. If you are caring, you are doing something extraordinary. It can be really a difficult challenge, and obviously there are things in that caring role that we should celebrate. But we must be aware in reality it's not an easy role to do. So you do deserve recognition, respect, and the right help at the right time. Thank you for watching.